Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me today visiting the awesome collection of Dulac Cars, a garage filled with amazing supercars in magnificent specs that are all daily driven. There is however one car in here which rather stands out to me. Over there we have the brand new Ferrari F12 GTS. The GTS being the convertible version of the F12 Superfast, and this is actually the first time I've ever even seen a GTS, and today we're going to be taking it out to have a first drive experience of what that car is like, joined as well by the Superfast. Now I've long said since it launched that this is my favourite series production current supercar. I think it's a magnificent thing, and now combining the 6.5 litre V12 with a folding convertible roof, I think is a recipe for something pretty special. Let's have a quick look around the garage, check out the GTS. There's also a lovely Pista Spider around the corner. Then we'll get both of the F12s out, go for a drive, and see what the GTS is all about. Let's just take a little walk through the collection then here at Dulac Cars, who have very kindly invited me to come and take a visit. We have the Blue Posi F12 Superfast, we have a lovely Porsche Speedster, Gt3 in Brewster Green behind, we've got the Grigio Silverstone GTS, we'll come back to that in just a moment. Here we have the Pista Spider, look at that thing, one of the highest spec'd Pista Spiders out there. We've got a McLaren 600 LT, we've got the Porsche 991.2 Gt3 Rs Weissach. This is a pretty cool collection, and like I said, these cars are all driven. None of them are clean, they're used, they're taken out. This has about 20,000 kilometers on the clock. This though, having only just arrived, is currently I think about 500, 600 kilometers maybe, but I'm sure there are many more to come. Now take a look around it. Of course, they've changed on the face of it, the roof. Taking off the roof, having a folding hardtop, it's a multi-panel piece that folds out in about 14 seconds. You can do it while you're driving up to around 45 kilometers an hour, 28 miles per hour, but there are actually more changes under the skin than you might originally realize. Standing here, for example, they've got a completely new mirror design. Notice the shape of the mirror completely changed from the Superfast. Obviously the rear deck has had to have these new pieces created to do with the wind and the airflow to reduce buffeting. The diffuser has changed as well to keep the aero profile, to keep the car planted down to the ground, because let's be real, 800 horsepower all to the rear wheels through the 7-speed dual clutch gearbox. This is a bit of a monster. Now I'm intrigued to hear what it sounds like. Obviously it comes with new European regulations as a few years have gone by since the F12 was originally introduced, but I think the car looks fantastic. Since the day it came out, I've actually been completely enamored by it. I think it's one of the greatest things, and of course in my garage I have the GTC Forlusso V12, the kind of 4-seat version you could say, but this is going to be something really very, very special. Let me grab the key just for a moment, show you the inside of the car. Just got to open it and do this for a security thing for a second. Inside here we've got the brown interior. You can see the spec of the car. We'll go through things in more detail, but this is going to be a really, really cool experience. In fact, let me just show you how the roof button works. I think if we turn on the ignition, you have the button just down here. I'm going to lean in through to show you this. We basically have this, which you do like this. He says the rear deck will open up. You can see exactly how this operates. I don't think there have been many clips that actually show it in action, but you've got those two parts which fold on out, click into place, the rear deck comes back down, windows go back up, and should you choose to, you can actually lower the rear window as well to have all the noise with the roof up should the weather not be quite so perfect. And we can just open this back up, because I think we're going to have to take it out with the roof open to enjoy this to the max, to hear the noise of the V12 in a convertible Ferrari. It's actually been quite a long time since Ferrari offered a product like this in their portfolio. And turn it off, come back out for the moment. In fact, it goes back a long, long way. If you talk about Ferrari's history, they always had those V12 Spiders. In fact, the 166mm back in the 40s, but the last time they had a front-engine V12 convertible series production Ferrari was the Daytona, the 365, back in 1969. This launched on the 50th anniversary. They did have some limited series models in the interim, the likes of the 550 Barchetta, the 575 Superamerica, the 599 SA Aperta, and also, oh, there we go. Let's make sure we get this right. And also the F60 America, the 10-unit special. But this, well, this is a pretty cool looking thing. So let's get both cars started up, pull them on out, and go and have some fun. It is time then for a start-up of the 812 Superfast, so let's take a listen to the V12 as it comes into life. Cold start. Of course, it is valved. You can hear the valves over the top of the exhaust, but one of the greatest sounds, even when it's stock. It's unbelievable they still managed to make this. And like I said, this car has done quite some miles. Let's do this then. Head round back. Let's take a listen. Already feels cool. V12, roof off. It's a combination I didn't think would exist outside of those limited production run models. Now we've got this, let's go! So here I am then, at the wheel of a new Ferrari 812 GTS following an 812 Superfast around the countryside, and it is everything that you would initially think this car was going to be. Obviously driving a little bit gently at the moment, it's not too crazy, but when you get those sounds, and I mean listening to the Superfast ahead, listen to this! This is in sport mode, automatic, taking it easy. Yes, there is quite a lot of blusteriness inside. You do feel the wind. You can tell, obviously, that you're in a mid-front mounted engine car with the roof removed. But if you press auto, turn the Manatino up into race, start downshifting some gears, where they get so sharp, it just sounds insane. The rawness of the V12, in fact, how much it screams and revs up. And of course, this car has just over 500 kilometers on the clock, so taking it a little bit easily, but it's something so special. The history, as I said, but the sharpness of those shifts when you have no roof, when you can hear the full aural symphony behind you. Midway through the rev range, it goes up to 8,900 RPM. And I apologise if it is quite noisy, because that is the wind behind. In fact, you can tell with those loops that it has on the buttresses. It's almost that kind of mid-engine supercar, like the 488 style roof, but attached to the car that has the engine up front. And it's a format, a formula that I've always loved, a convertible front mid-engine. It's great for grand touring. This car actually has a decent amount of luggage space at the back as well. But it's an absolute delight. This is a heavenly thing to be driving. It's the shifts, the combination of the massive NA V12, 800 horsepower, 718 Newton meters. Some numbers for you: 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour, under 3 seconds. 0 to 200 kilometers an hour, 124 miles per hour, only 8.5 seconds. Top speed, 340 kilometers per hour. 340! That's well over 200. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's a fast car, and you can do that with the roof off. You can do that like what? Convertible driving. I mean, this is the ultimate in performance grand tourer. It's a setup that isn't really replicated by that many cars. You know, the SLS, my SLS, which we're going to see in a moment, actually, where we're heading, because we dropped it off for the photo spot. But then the AMG GTR Roadster, for example. There aren't many cars that have this kind of setup. If they made like an LFA Roadster, that would have perhaps met it, and I think they did a prototype but never released it. This is just awesome. As driving experiences go, this car is mega. I mean, the Superfast, yes, it's a little bit more practical. It has a little bit more luggage space. It came pre-OPF, which means you do get a little bit more noise out of the exhaust as well. But this is the same car in terms of the driving style. It doesn't sacrifice anything. It's not less powerful. It's not lacking any, it's not been softened up or anything like that to be a convertible. It is the 812 Superfast with the roof lifted, and that's what makes it this driving experience. Those kicks on the shift. Beaming, absolutely beaming. And you have to remember, this is 800 horsepower. And you're very aware that it's 800 horsepower. Getting to 9,000 RPM is into ballistic speeds, ballistic territory very, very quickly. also amazing. It has Ferrari's virtual short wheelbase, their rear wheel steering, which means it's so pinpoint. At higher speeds, the rear wheels giving you more stability, at lower speeds helping with maneuverability. Experience for the driver, just even more precision, even more planted. It's obviously a big car, a long car, a wide car, big wheelbase, wide track, big tyres as well, as you would expect. But as we meander up these lanes, doesn't get much better. One thing that I should try then, of course, is to slow down and to pop the roof up to see what it's like driving this car with the roof in place, and how similar that experience, I guess, is to the Superfast. So you can do this at 45 kilometers per hour, 28 miles per hour. Wait for it, I think it takes 14 seconds to do the roof, windows up as well. Give us some beat. Now, you know what? I don't think you would know if you were in the GTS or the Superfast right now from this. Still hear a remarkable amount of the noise inside the car. And, you know, one of the best bits, you can put down the rear window. So then you can have the noise even if it's raining. Oh, wow. Do you know what? Even if you never want to put the roof down, that's worth it alone. All the engine noise, without the wind if you don't want it that much. That's just awesome. Now in race mode, as I'm driving at the moment, that's where you get a little bit more of the sound. The valves open later than they would if you were back down into sport or even into wet mode. But in those, you can also press bumpy road mode to soften the suspension. But I have to say, the suspension is not overly firm or aggressive. I mean, we're driving on some good tarmac, but it feels very compliant. It feels very overall decent. I mean, you do feel sometimes a bit of the weight, I know, from driving the Superfast when you drive it in anger, a bit of it obviously leaning out over the front, and I think this car's 75 kilos more to have all of the roof mechanism than the Superfast is, versus not having the roof. But this is just a mega soundtrack with the window down like that. That is how I think I would drive it all the time. And then when it's a sunny day, a sound. That's the Sport. You can hear the shifts aren't quite as savagely ferocious. If you go back up into race, instantly it's much sharper, much quicker. And Ferraris do that fun thing when if you just hold the downshift, it drops down every gear basically as soon as it can while you're braking. So you heard there, we got two in quick succession. If you were in 7th, for example, and you come in hard on a track and you brake into a corner and hold down, you'll get literally this colossal explosion of sound as it drops down to 6th, to 5th, to 4th, to 3rd, to 2nd, depending obviously how hard you're going onto the brakes. We are arriving towards our photo spot then with these two. This is so cool to be driving with the 812 Superfast and the 812 GTS. I'm sorry, I can't say it enough times, but just having the two together is something totally epic. Obviously you've got the indicators on the steering wheel, familiar with that. We come down here, and what I'm going to do actually is do the roof again, just to pop it back down. Oh, did it the wrong way. To pull it up, just to pop the roof back down. Currently going about 30 kilometers an hour, just to test what it's like. Yeah, like any car, you get a bit of a blast of the breeze as you go through the process. Obviously it's kind of a gigantic air brake up in the air behind me, but pretty easy to do that. And it puts the rear window, I noticed, just a little bit up. If you go all the way up, it gets a lot more windy. If you put it all the way down, obviously a little bit more as well. So they've calculated exactly how to do that. But yeah, this is pretty ridiculously cool. Both paddles to neutral. Ah, silly times. Hey, guess what? They sound pretty similar. We've parked the two cars directly side by side because there are actually more differences between these two than you might instinctively think. For example, if you take a look just inside of the taillights and the number plates around and compare them between the two cars, you have these very different lines because the GTS has the boot lid line, the Superfast has the hatchback that opens upwards, the ducktail spoiler is also slightly different, but these shapes are quite changed between the two cars. Also the diffuser, like I mentioned earlier, notice how there you have the one piece, here you have that split, the two piece, and it also actually comes significantly further back out of the rear of the car. If we come around as well on this side, I'll show you the door mirrors. Touched on these earlier. Superfast mirror shape, and then the GTS, which is much more curved forwards, obviously for airflow around the car. The fronts, I think, are the same. I don't think there's anything that's changed substantially from the front of one to the front of the other. These wheels I really like. This is, I think, the TDF wheel design originally, but the 10 spokes looking really, really smart. And yes, obviously the main difference when it comes to the rear deck lid, how you've gone from having the glass hatch and the luggage space to this rear deck lid, flat rear deck lid, but with these buttresses, more familiar from the likes of the mid-engine supercars. And then in this car we have the upgraded seats, obviously the carbon backed, you can see, but very, very firm seats. I'm generally a bigger fan of the ones that we have in the Superfast, which are the regular, more kind of comfort spec seats. But yes, fascinating to see the two of these side by side, to get to see all of the details and the differences between them. I'm not sure if it sits any taller with the roofline as well, often with cars, because of the extra strengthening that has to come into the windscreen surround A-pillars. Talking of which, look at these built-in little flicks for air flow over the top of the car, almost a bit of a deflector that's been installed just over the top of those. Small changes, really, really interesting. See the mirrors as well when I'm around the side of the car and how they're shaped so differently. So it is not literally a case of taking off the roof. A lot more has had to go into this, I'm sure, also under the skin as well, with the various technologies, controls, and just making sure everything's fully refined for the different characteristics and different setup of the car. But they do look good together, I'm not gonna lie. This thing is a stunning, stunning, stunning car, and a great driving experience as well. What an epic thing. We're back in the car then, we're gonna head out, it's now raining. Let's get the start up of the Superfast. Yes, now the GTS. V12s for days. So given it's raining, we've put the roof back on this car. I am going to open the rear window just for a bit of fun, so we can have some of that noise, and we will set on out. Superfast will go first, SLS Black Series will go second, and then I will follow up at the back with this. Obviously got to get comfortable, run the wipers. Daily cars to the max right now. It's actually quite fun for me to see the blue SLS Black Series on the move as well in our little convoy as we head on out back to base. V12s, unfortunately, they will not be a thing of the future. They will not last forever, but while they do last, they need to be enjoyed as much as possible. And I think this is going to go down as one of the greatest cars ever. It's such a mixture of angry, shouty engine with a car that's still quite comfortable and pleasant to actually drive. It's not overly firm. It is a Grand Tourer. It is a car that you could actually daily, despite having a stupidly long bonnet. Oh, why is it raining? Well, as we discussed, Dulac Cars do daily them all. This car will have a lot of kilometers on it probably by the next time I see it. These downshifts! How do Ferrari do this? How do they make a gearbox that just bangs up and down the gears in the way that this does? I mean, it's what I love so much about my Lusso, is that it's 90% of this character in a car that's also dailyable, practical, 4 seats, luggage space, 4-wheel drive as well. This though, that extra 10% now, plus the additional dynamic of having the roof that can open and the rear window that can open, I do think it will go down as one of the Ferrari greats. I guess the 50 years on successor to the Daytona Spider. We now have this, and yeah, it's a really, really awesome driving experience. We're back in the garage, and what a drive that was. Now, there are a few more things I would like to show you about the GTS, namely, for example, the amount of luggage space that it actually has, because for a convertible supercar, it is not all that bad. So if I press and hold the button, you have a button inside on the driver's door as well. Back here, you can fit a few small pieces of luggage. It's not quite the amazing amount that you can fit into the coupe and the Superfast, but you can get, of course, the fitted luggage. We've got the car cover that comes with it, the trickle charger, those kind of things. And don't forget, Ferrari's always always have the personalization specifications, so the list of everything that this car has in terms of its spec. So Grigio Silverstone for the paint, Arocco for the interior, and some of the options and things listed there. You've got the port here for the trickle charger, which isn't talked about all that often, but for Ferraris, you literally just plug it in here. It's magnetic, so if you drive away without pulling it out, it's not a problem, and you don't have to fiddle around having cables coming in and out of the bonnets or anything like that. So it's very easy to use. They do a really good job with that. I think the car, when it's parked here with the roof up, has an amazing silhouette. It's a really, really nice shape, still very much the lines that you expect because it has those rear buttresses. They've done a really, really, really nice job of integrating that roof. And I know it's something that hadn't really often been actually seen before, but now an opportunity as the car self-locks itself to have seen how that actually opens up and how it all works. In terms of the other cars that are here, as part of the Dulac Cars garage, let's have a little look around. So apart from the 812s, we have a few Porsches. We've got the 991.2 Speedster, but this is very special. This is heavily PTS, Porsche paint to sample, with lots of exclusive manufacturer options. So there are only 1,948 of these in total. A handful of those are PTS. This colour is Meissen Blue. Meissen Blue was the colour of the original 356 Speedster, and then it's got navy blue accents all around to go with that. Mare blue for the wheels, the satin navy, again with a light blue pinstripe around. Details like the roof, blue roof, very rare, nearly all of them have a black roof, only a few PTS roof colour options. Then on the inside, got the houndstooth interior finish for the centre of the seats, the navy blue leather as well, and a few other details that are all heavily customised. There's a GT3 here, which is a manual. It happens to be a manual with a wing. It's not a touring or a winged PDK car, which is quite rare. This is Brewster Green. Again, it's got the houndstooth interior for the seats and a nice PTS paint colour, which is matched over here on the Gt3 Rs 901.2 Weissach. So you've got the bronzy gold magnesium centerlock wheels, the carbon exposed bonnet, and again the houndstooth on the inside, along with a number of other unique things that have come via PTS. We've got the 600 LT, and we've got the very, very heavily spec'd Pista Spider, from the paint colour to the stripes. And in fact, if we come round towards the back, have a look at the unique design that's been created for this, having the yellow accent that comes around the outside edge of the rear spoiler, the integrated spoiler. It's open underneath where you have the prancing horse just slightly sticking up over that, but a completely unique spec for this car. Then you can see some of the yellow details on the seats as well on the inside that match with that design on the exterior, even the S-duct having the stripe going all the way through it. So a very special thing there too. That is, of course, before we go through the 812s, the Posi Blue they have for the Superfast, the Grigio Silverstone with the additional striping that's been added after with the brighter silver and the yellow stripe, kind of historical heritage almost livery for Ferrari. But this must have been one of the very first GTSs to be delivered. I am actually feeling rather lucky and very honoured that Dulac Cars have allowed me to get behind the wheel to experience what this is like. I'm just going to come and show a few more things about the interior. Being a Belgian car, you just have to do a little bit of a fiddle with the door every time, delicately balance that so we don't hit the Speedster. But inside here, we've got quite an easygoing interior. I think, we don't have all of the carbon fibre options in the passenger display. It's a car that's bought to be driven, to do the miles, to be enjoyed, not just to be sat in a collection and never really driven. In fact, many of these cars have a lot of kilometres on the clock. I don't know all of the details. The Pista Spider only arrived recently, so that doesn't have too many yet. But mark my words, any that don't will do in the future. But inside here, it's a very nice place to be. It's a really, really cool car. Got those displays I was talking about, and then the rev counter in the centre going all the way up to just shy of 9,000 up towards the roof. You can see some of the shape and design of that. Nowhere to put any luggage right behind the seats. No options on that front, but overall, who is to complain? This thing is absolutely heavenly. So let's lock it up for the time being. I think that will be the end of this awesome experience. A first drive in the Ferrari 812 GTS. What I hoped it was going to be. I hope you've enjoyed this video as well. And I tell you what, this is going to make me have to go away and sit and think a lot, because that is special, and cars like this aren't going to be around forever and need to be enjoyed as much as possible when any opportunities allow. Today though has been awesome. I'll pop Dulac Cars' link down below. Do go give them a follow if you'd like to see more of the cars out and about in action. But that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. As always, guys, I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.